Alright, sorry about that. I'm actually redoing this video because I forgot to say something I wanted to say. So this is Ventoy. You've probably heard about this before. A lot of Linux creators talk about how cool it is because it can put just random ISOs on it so you can distro hop all you want. That's one thing it's cool for, but the other thing it's cool for is it supports Windows, and that is really hard to do on Linux. It's actually why I keep a Windows install around and I boot into it just to make more Windows 11 USBs. Now, I may still have to do that for Windows 11 because it's got like the removes the secure boot and TPM requirements and stuff. This one doesn't, but if you're using what I'm going to tell you about next, it's really good. Uh, so this is what I use for Windows 10 IoT LTSC, and it's a really long name, but basically what it is it is a version of Windows 10 made for embedded devices. And what this is going to do, I can't really talk about how to get it, but if you look for it, you're going to find it, right? Now, IoT LTSC is unique because it's actually completely different than the retail and enterprise versions of Windows 10. It uses completely different binaries that use Win32. So you have 32-bit system applications. What it also does is it comes extremely minimalist. I mean, like I'm talking about, you don't get a image viewer, you don't get a video player. You have to go download those yourself, and you might if you don't know what you're doing, this can be a problem because I have tried to sell computers with IoT LTSC on it before. Actually, I just use regular LTSC. I'll get into the difference between IoT and LTSC in a second. But basically, they were like, how the fuck do I open an image? And I'm like, oh, yeah, I forgot to install Nomex Image Launch. So you're going to need to know what applications you need to install. It's going to be kind of like, I'm not going to say it's like installing Arch Linux or Gentoo or whatever, but think of it kind of like that, or like Void, where if you want an image viewer, you gotta fucking find one, you know? Like you gotta install Fed or something. Well, yeah, it's kind of like that, basically, where you don't get any of those quality of life things. You don't get any, like, bloat. Like, you get a outdated version of Edge and that's it. And it used to be Internet Explorer. But I don't recommend uninstalling Edge on a Windows computer because God forbid your Chrome installation breaks or Firefox or whatever and you need to reinstall, you have a browser to download it. But what's interesting about LTSC, and I'm deliberately leaving out IoT for a second here, is you don't get feature updates at all. Like they just don't happen. So unlike a semi-annual release channel, which I've talked about before, where you get feature updates when they're ready, this one you don't get feature updates until like they release a new version of LTSC. So you're probably not getting that. Windows 10 is already technically EOL as far as like, uh, I think they're adding that stupid Copilot bullshit to it, but that's about it. So you're not getting feature updates on Windows 10 anymore. But what you do get, and LTSC ends support, I believe, at the same time as Windows 10, which is 2025. Now there's a different one though called IoT LTSC, and the only difference is that IoT LTSC gets updates until 2032. So you have official support from Microsoft for the next 8 years. And what that'll mean is supposedly they are going to release Windows 11 IoT LTSC in sometime this year, in 2024. So you should be able to get an upgrade to Windows 11 if you decide you want it. But if you don't, you got another 8 years to decide, you know? Because I have a few friends where they're like, yeah, I'm using Windows 10, but I don't want to upgrade to Windows 11, so what the fuck am I going to do? I'm like, well, you got Linux, but here's your other option. So now the other thing about, or sorry, so I kind of wanted to talk about how you can get this on and make a USB through Linux, because I didn't know how to use Ventoy at first. I was trying to figure out how to install it, and for some reason I didn't check the manual, but it's super simple. You just untar it and just run a command in terminal, like run a shell script. It's super easy. And once you have that, you'll have a blank USB that you can just throw ISOs on. So that's really cool. I mean, I wasn't too into it at first because I usually just DD everything, and it works fine for me because I don't really distro hop that often. But I find, because I'm, of course, a channel that tries to talk about shit that you don't know about already, the reason I'm talking about it is because I realized you can use this to make Windows USBs, which is something that you really can't do otherwise. I mean, there are technically options, but like you can format the device as FAT32 and copy all the ISO files over or something. You can unpack it yourself. You can, I think there's a WoW USB which doesn't work anymore, or maybe it does work. I don't know. I couldn't get it to work, but now I've got an option where I can easily install this bullshit, and side bonuses, I can use it for other things too. So that's really cool. I like how it's basically just a theme grub bootloader, and then it, instead of having all this, file systems on it, instead unpacks the ISO for you. So that's really cool. I try to give you a spin on something that you haven't already heard before. And I don't know how many channels have made a video on like, hey, if you're trying to make a Windows USB on Linux, try Ventoy. But now you can add this to the list. And that should be all. I had to retake this video because I forgot to mention the feature updates of IoT, or of LTSC really. But yeah, if you're looking to continue running Windows for a while longer, like run Windows 10 for a while longer, I forgot to mention this. What you will have to do though, because this is a separate, sorry, that was what I was trying to talk about. This is a very different beast from like Windows 10 retail or education or whatever. Because the binaries are all different and because this is a completely different product, it'll look like Windows 10, but if you try to use the upgrade and keep all your files thing, it won't work. You have to completely reinstall Windows if you're going to use this. That is the one drawback. But honestly, you should have all your shit backed up anyways, just in case of failure, especially with Windows. So now that's what I wanted to talk about, is make sure that, once you install this, you're going to be on a completely separate channel. I mean, like, not even semi-annual is similar to this. That is how different this is. So make sure you know that, but I kind of wanted to make this video right after my I'm not going to use Windows video, because there are times where I need to install Windows on somebody's computer, and I like having options, so this is kind of how I'm keeping up now. I'm using Ventoy to make Windows 10 ISOs, to make Windows 10 USBs. But that should be it. Thanks.